What's going on, Duelist? Decided to do a duel review for you guys. I know some people have requested that, especially since on stream now I typically don't show my hand to prevent sniping. So yeah, this was a goat control, or sorry, not a goat control, a like a Thunder Dragon Chaos mirror that I played recently. Um, and I made some pretty interesting plays, and there's kind of a lot to talk about. So I think this would give people some insight into my thought process because I think a lot of people are playing this deck wrong. So here we want a duo first. Duo is good turn one. In general, the way that I make my turn one plays is, I mean, of course, depending on what deck I'm playing, I try to minimize what my opponent knows about my deck and maximize the info that I have on theirs. So we want a duo because typically when we discard two, that will give us some info on what they're playing. And we don't want to discard Thunder Dragon yet because we don't want them to know what we're playing, right? So yeah, we hit Sakuretsu and Chaos Sorcerer, which narrows it down a little. Our opponent could either be on, sort of like a Chris Perovic Thunder Dragon Chaos kind of list, or he could be on like a Warrior Chaos deck, which is obviously those two decks are very, very different. But yeah, I mean, more than likely it's going to be, something like Chris's list with Chaos Sorcerers and Sakuretsu armors because Warriors typically only play one Chaos Sorcerer, so the odds that he opened it are pretty low. Here I'm just going to set Torrential. There's not really a great reason to get like fancy and set like either Heavy Storm with the Torrential or Heavy Storm by itself. Going for Pro Heavy is kind of an overrated play overall because there's a lot of ways that it can go wrong, and we already have Breaker to destroy spells or traps anyways, so there's no reason to really like commit our Heavy Storm yet. And yeah, it's not really a reason to summon a monster. Obviously, we're not going to summon Breaker turn one, and normal summoning Serpent could go badly, and setting Serpent could also go badly. So this is a pretty straightforward turn for us. So it's kind of just set Torrential, see what happens. Our opponent plays Sengen and attacks directly. So even though I think that Sengen is good in Warriors, usually they don't play it. So our opponent is probably not on a Warrior deck, especially since he set 0 back row, right? If he's playing Warriors, he's probably going to set at least 1 back row. So now we kind of have some decisions. One thing that's worth noting is we are already at 6,000 life, and life points really are important in GOAT format. So ideally, we don't really want to take any more damage. Again, the issue with setting Serpent is we could get it crossed out, and that's just really bad for us because Serpent is easily the best power card in the format. And we don't want to summon Breaker because, again, there's kind of a lot of ways that can go wrong. We can get it Snatch stolen. He could maybe go Tsukiyomi and just kill the Breaker. So what I actually decided to do here is I set Breaker. And this is not something that I do a lot. I'm not saying that we should be setting Breaker all the time. It's sort of one of those 1 in 1,000 games type of plays. But here I feel it's the right play. It does block hits from Sengen. If the Breaker dies, that's actually pretty good for us because it means that we can play our Chaos Sorcerer and banish the Sengen. And if the Breaker baits Crossout, well, then we can, perhaps start setting Serpent to block hits. So yeah, kind of a weird play there with Breaker, but I think it is definitely the right play. Our Breaker gets flipped, and he just sets Speller Trap and passes. So yeah, we don't really want to be attacking Sengen, because again, that lets him get Sinister. What we really want is for our Breaker to just die, so that we can banish the Sengen. And we actually have a lot of options here this turn. I think I might have just passed, actually. So let's see. Okay, I set Faith and pass. So that's one thing that we can do. The great thing about setting Faith here is we have Heavy Storm in our hand and Duo in our grave. And, like, Heavy Duo is, like, the ultimate, like, 50-50 in this game. Like, you can play around one, but you can never play around both. So if the Faith dies and we get back Duo, that's pretty good for us. if the Faith gets crossed out, we're also kind of fine with that, especially since we have lights in our grave right now and our opponent doesn't. So if he crosses out our Faith, him banishing all of his Faith, that's actually like worse for him than it is for us. But of course, the other play that we could do here is we could Tribute Breaker for Thunder Dragon, special summon Sorcerer, Sorcerer hit the Sangan, and then attack with Thunder Dragon. And I don't know. I mean, I think there's merit to that. The main thing that it loses to is Torrential, right? We you know, if he did that, that'd basically be like a 3-for-1, right? Because he's trading Torrential for Breaker, Thunder Dragon, and Sorcerer. So yeah, I mean, we are kind of ahead right now, so I don't mind just like kind of playing defensively for a while. And then yeah, the Faith resolves, which is obviously pretty nice. And then yeah, he's going to play around Duo. And now we have card destruction, which is pretty interesting. I definitely think here we probably want to go heavy Duo card destruction. I hope that's what I do. Yes, we go heavy. He doesn't have any chainables. No, nothing like ring or anything. If anything, we would kind of want him to ring our guy, or you know, chain Raigeki break on our breaker or something. So yeah, so actually what we can do here now, you know, keep in mind I don't know what this face down monster is. You guys can see it's Dekochi, but when I'm playing I don't know that. But I figured, you know, more than likely it's, you know, it's probably going to be something like, you know, Dekochi, maybe Faith, you never know. It could also even be Night Assailant. So as long as this monster isn't Spy, attacking with Breaker is pretty strong here because, you know, we can attack with Breaker and then Duo and then drop Sorcerer and, you know, then our opponent just has no cards. So I guess okay. Yeah, we can do it this way. So yeah, I'm playing around Morphing Jar here, just in case it's Morphing Jar. Morphing Jar isn't super common, but it definitely can... It definitely is a card that people still play on occasion. So yeah, so now we flip the Duo, kill our opponent's 2 cards, and then just clear our opponent's field, and he actually just concedes there. He actually just concedes. So yeah, I don't really side a ton for mirrors. I'm kind of just banking on just winning the mirrors most of the time, just due to having a, you know, better deck list and, you know, thousands of matches worth of experience in the mirror. So this hand is definitely not very good. This would be a better hand if we went first, because it has Dust Shoot. So yeah, so at this point, we've seen Sakuretsu Armor and Upstart Goblin, so he's probably on Chris's list or something pretty similar to it. So yeah, so we'll just draw here. Yeah, I guess I decided to set everything figuring, hey, maybe I can bait heavy and then like chain Wing Blast and chain Dust Shoot, which would kind of be good. I believe I don't Dust Shoot in the draw phase, actually. Yeah, so he goes MST on our Wing Blast, and we get to do kind of a cool play here, which is that we're Wing Blast. Obviously, we want to discard the Dark for BLS. Then we target the monster, and then after the Wing Blast resolves, I Dust Shoot. So the monster that we put on top of his deck with Wing Blast, he's not going to redraw that monster, which is kind of good for us. I've mentioned this before in some of my streams and videos, but the main way that I try to play the Chaos Mirror match is it's all about the graveyards. So that's why I like Wing Blast, because it, you know, there it didn't put the monster in the grave. Here we can't really do anything. I mean, we could set Book of Moon, but it doesn't really accomplish much. The only thing that sitting Book of Moon would do is allow us to play around our opponent's Dust Shoot. But I'm not really too concerned with Dust Shoot right now. And I decided to take the Tribe hit just because we have Snatch in our hands. Do we have any good spells? Yeah, we actually have no spells. But if the Snatch ends up in the grave, then we'll have a pretty good spell. So I imagine hopefully I went set book, set faith here. Yeah, so we went set book, set faith. We have no spells in our grave right now, but, you know, we have book and snatch, so two pretty decent spells that we could have. So our opponent does have the cross out, which, you know, it's not great because we kind of need that light for BLS. Again, Graveyard's really the most important resource in the Chaos Mirrors. So he banishes 3 Faith, I banish 3 Faith as well. And, well, we do draw Thunder Dragon. Thunder Dragon's a very good card here. Just again, because it's the light for BLS. Yeah, I don't believe that I know that this is Sinister. Or maybe I do, because we did see our opponent's hand with Death Shoot. It's awkward because in the replay it doesn't show what the hands were. I know that when I Dust Shooted, I'm pretty sure I saw Torrential, so that's why I don't play BLS here, because I don't want to get Torrentialed. It is a little awkward because Sinister Torrential is a very good combo. I mean, or synergy, I guess, whatever you want to call it. Because really, unless we draw Cross out, we're just kind of stuck, right? Because we're forced to play a second monster to deal damage, but then when we play the second monster, he Torrentials. So I think in this game, I've decided to be patient here. We could just tribute the Tribe for Thunder Dragon just to stop our opponent from gaining 1,000. That definitely is something that I can do at some point. But obviously we got rewarded for saving our Thunder Dragons because we top decked Graceful. And the Graceful draws us into Crossout, which is exactly what we needed. So we cross out, we do hit the Sinister. We're glad it's Sinister and not something like Dekochi. And yeah, now we're kind of back in the driver's seat. We got 3 lights, 1 dark. So yeah, and our opponent has no lights, no darks, which is exactly the spot that we want to be in. So we don't know what this monster is. I do decide to BLS here. I guess thinking like, you know, it could be Dekochi. Obviously, if we know that it's Spy, it would just be better to have Tribe attack and then use the effect main phase 2. But I figure, okay, we'll get the Torrential out of the way. It is only a 2 for 2. And, you know, it does get the Snatch off the field, so he won't go to 1,000,000 life points. And then, yeah, we're ahead on cards, so we're gonna put the pressure on. And yeah, we're just gonna keep our guy. I do like Warrior Lady and Chaos Mirrors, because again, it controls the grave. And sometimes you can set it and it's a good bait for mind control, which people like to side. So yeah, so definitely a fan of Warrior Lady. The one unfortunate thing right now is we do have no darks in our grave. Depending on how the game develops, sometimes it can be harder to get darks in your grave than lights. And yeah, he just kills our guy. Heavy hasn't been used yet, so yeah, we're not gonna set another spell or trap. But we got Ring, which is enough to protect our stuff. No need to set the Wing Blast. Now we have Torrential, so I mean, we could set one of these two. I mean, Torrential of the two is probably the better one to set. I don't really like Wing Blasting the guy to the top. So yeah, we just set Torrential going, okay, you know, he might flip to Kochi and draw a card, but if he summons something else, we can clear the board. And our life total is reasonably healthy. And our opponent drew the Thunder Dragon, which is pretty good for him, because, you know, because it does get the light in his grave. So yeah, we're just gonna take 14, hope to draw something good. Yeah, we draw a Kaiku, which is pretty strong in the mirror. I think people overrate the card a little, but it definitely is a good card. So yeah, if this Kaiku hit goes through, we're in pretty good shape. But if it doesn't go through, he has Book of Moon. But at least, you know, he booked our guy rather than, I don't know, getting to book his Dekochi or Faith or something like that. So our opponent Gracefuls, this is a really good draw for him after he got Thunder Dragon. And our opponent doesn't play into the Torrential. He just attacks. And here I was thinking, oh, Kaiku is really strong. I need to, you know, ring the Dekochi and save my Kaiku. However, I think it's worth mentioning that, you know, it's kind of weird because obviously Kaiku's great in the mirror. We want the Kaiku to attack directly and banish too. If we just banish 2 darks, we're in a great spot. But on the other hand, we also kind of want the Kaiku in our own grave because it's the dark for Sorcerer. So I do decide to ring, but I think you could make the case this is probably a mistake. Our opponent has 5 fresh cards in hand, and one of them will probably be a blocker for this Kaiku. So I don't think that, you know, making Kaiku our win condition is the play that we should be doing. I think that we should probably just save the ring, let the Kaiku die, play Sorcerer, and just, you know, banish the Dekochi. And obviously, you know, now that our opponent set a monster, we are going to attack, of course. And it is Spy, which is, you know, of course, the best set that he can have here. You know, especially seeing as, you know, all the Faiths are gone, so we kind of know it's not Faith. And yeah, I decided to just say go. I mean, we don't really want to set back rows because we have heavy in our hand. So our opponent just sets Spell Trap and passes. Now we're kind of in an interesting spot. We do not have any flips in our grave. Our only flip was Faith. However, if we discard the Night Assailant, it is a dark for our Chaos Sorcerer. So, you know, I think we can either set the Wing Blast and then have the dark for our Chaos Sorcerer, or we can set the Night Assailant thinking, okay, he's probably going to attack it, and then that's the dark for our Chaos Sorcerer. But since we have Torrential set, I don't think we want to commit another monster to the field, so we just keep the Assailant in our hand, knowing, okay, if our opponent summons like a Tsukiyomi, we've got a great play with Torrential. But he's just gonna opt to pass. And we draw a Dust Shoot, so we're just gonna Dust Shoot, see what he has, and then kind of use that to plan the next few turns. Yeah, of course, our opponent tried to upstart first, but, you know, it's the draw phase, of course. So, yeah, the game doesn't show what he had. Hold on, does it say? Okay, yeah, he had Chaos Sorcerer. So we sent Chaos Sorcerer back into his deck. I believe his hand was actually very good. His hand was like Chaos Sorcerer, Snatch Steal, and something else, if I recall correctly. So yeah, so he snatches. Yeah, we just let it resolve. And I mean, there are different ways we can go about this, of course. I decide to Wing Blast the Snatch Steal, I believe, which I think is kind of a mistake, just because obviously, you know, people point out like, oh, this is why you should play Raigeki Break, so you can just Raigeki Break the Snatch Steal. That's true, I suppose. Snatch Steal is the one card where Raigeki Break is better. Here, you know, another option is that we can just Wing Blast the Kaiku to the top of our deck. Obviously, that kind of has its pros and cons. We do redraw the Kaiku, which, against a field full of spies, is not really the best. So yeah, I think I just decided, okay, maybe the top card of my deck will be good. Dekochi's a pretty decent draw, actually. And, I think I decided to just get aggressive here. And just play the Chaos Sorcerer, because we do have another Wing Blast and Heavy to deal with the Snatch. Yeah, so we play the Sorcerer, activate the Sorcerer, it resolves, and yeah, I could have set the Dekochi, but I wanted to discard the Dekochi to Wing Blast. But yeah, there are different ways that we can play this. I'm kind of playing the I'm just going to make you redraw all the same cards game plan. Which, you know, I'm not necessarily sure if, you know, I'm sequencing this correctly. But yeah, he does have the Raigeki Break to kill our Kaiku, and then he has the Sorcerer for our Sorcerer, which is pretty rough for us. We do his Torrential. So the nice thing here is that it's a pretty, you know, in terms of cards in life, it's pretty even, but we know that he's going to draw a Snatch Steal, which is obviously going to be a dead card, right? We're not going to, like, summon something to just get it Snatch Stolen. So our Wing Blast play kind of ends up working out for us, but only because we got off the Torrential. So yeah, so I set Heavy Storm, I guess, thinking, I don't know, maybe he'll set something. And yeah, we don't really want to play our Sorcerer, because, again, Snatch Steal. I decided to set Night Assailant. I'm not really sure why I sequenced it this way. I set Heavy, and then set Night Assailant the turn after. I don't know. Because we could have set Night Assailant the turn before. Either with Heavy or without Heavy. It just kind of depends, I guess. And we do get Duel. So we discard, I don't know, we discard something. Yeah, we discard Saku. Our opponent was good and, like, played around Heavy Storm. You know, oftentimes people would set Saku there and then we could just flip Heavy for the 2-for-1. But, you know, it didn't really work out. But yeah, he does discard the Snatch Steal, which, assuming his other card in hand is good, I think makes sense, because he knows that we know that he has it, so, like, the Snatch isn't really going to get much value. And yeah, he does top deck Pot of Greed, and he does have, like, the perfect monster into our board, which is Breaker to kill the Heavy, and then attack into the Assailant. So, you know, perhaps we shouldn't have set Heavy. Again, Pro Heavy is kind of an overrated play. Sometimes it works out, but our opponent, you know, was good enough to not let us get him there. Yeah, there I just set Cross out just because, you know, we're at 29. I don't want him to, like, go for game. And it's interesting because he summoned Dekochi, and one Crossout's gone, so it's pretty hard for him to put us on Crossout here, but I guess he just really wanted to do the damage. I don't think this is going to be a good play on average for him, but, like, obviously it does happen to kind of work out here. But, you know, we have Chaos Sorcerer anyways. So, you know, if he sets, we were going to Cross Out. If he summons, we were going to Sorcerer. And, yeah, you know, luckily now Snatch is gone, so we don't have to worry about that. And, you know, other than being at 1500, we're in a pretty decent spot. Definitely wouldn't mind if our opponent played an Upstart Goblin, that's for sure. This is kind of an interesting spot. I draw Blade Knight, which is a card I've sided in. I actually think I might stop siding Blade Knight, to be honest. Because I think I don't know, it's kind of been underwhelming for me. But, you know, our opponents used Torrential, but not Mirror. We are assuming that he plays both. So probably just summoning Blade Knight and keeping the Sorcerer in defense to play around Mirror is the play. Or we could do it this way, too. One or the other. So I believe he Mirror Forces here. And it kind of works out, because, like, the Sengen searches Dekochi, which is a pretty good summon for us. So we set Dekochi, and unless, you know, he has, like, BLS, which he does, we would have been in a pretty good spot. So, yeah, he does just go for game. So yeah, we're on to game 3. It's a pretty close game. I think there were definitely a lot of ways they could have played the game differently. I'm not sure if any of them were better, but it sort of shows you some of those weird wing blast dynamics. And this is a great going first hand. Obviously we're gonna set spy. Yeah, I mean you could set wing blast, but more than likely there's not really anything that we're gonna want to wing blast. If he sets a monster, we have cross out. If he summons a monster, well, he just runs into our spy. So I basically decide to not set wing blast to not let our opponent get value out of breaker. Yeah, we'll see how it works out. He also duos us. Having more cards in hand for duo is kind of nice because it gives us more options. It's interesting because he sets a monster before duoing, which is, generally a mistake. If he duoed without setting a monster, we might just discard one of our crossouts, thinking that, well, we don't even know if it's going to be live. But here we do know that crossout's going to be live. So I decided to get rid of the wing blast, just kind of figuring that, again, the mirror is kind of all about keeping stuff out of the grave. And discarding wing blast turns out to be a pretty good choice because we just end up drawing another one anyways. So I decide to flip spy, get 2 in attack mode. 2 things to point out about this play. One, you always want to flip spy before activating cross out here in case their set monster is a spy, right? Because if you cross out, then you have to banish all your spies. And yeah, I decided to get 2 spies in attack mode. Basically, our opponent's paid 1,000, so he's at 7,000, so attacking for 24 is pretty good. One of our spies is going to be in attack mode anyway, and more than likely, our opponent only has 1 attack. So, just putting the second spy in attack mode, there's not really a reason not to. Other than Azura, that's like the only reason to not put the second spy in attack. But, most of these Chaos decks don't play Azura. It's not a very good card in the mirror. It's basically good in this one situation, and, that's it. And I think for some reason I sided out my third Faith. I don't know what the logic was. But I ended up siding out my third Faith. And I decided to set, this Faith here. I mean, it's kind of risky because on one hand, if our opponent has mind control, we're really screwed. But at the same time, I kind of want this Faith to end up in our grave, just because, just because it's a light for a Chaos monster. So our opponent has Tribe, and he does a really interesting play. Here it's a little awkward because our hand is double crossout versus an attack position monster. But he actually decides not to use Tribe's effect. I actually put the spy in the grave assuming he would, and he just passes. So I was like, that's pretty strange. Basically, when you don't use Tribe's effect here, what you're saying to your opponent is, my hand is so amazing. My 3-card hand is so amazing that I just don't want to discard anything. Which, I don't know if that's true, but that's what he's telling us. So we top deck Ring, which is a pretty strong top deck. It's, obviously Chaos Sorcerer probably would have been the best top deck. I decide to set a cross out in case there's an end phase Raigeki break here or something, or end phase MST, because I really want this Ring to go through, right? So if he has the end phase MST, I want to give him a chance to hit the cross out instead. But yeah. But in his draw phase, I decide to ring, going, okay, he has no lights, no darks in his grave, so if we just ring this Tribe, we can kind of camp on Spy for a while. Our opponent sets a monster, which is, of course, lovely for us. We definitely want our opponent to set a monster. So I decide to cross out. It's Spy. For some reason, he adds Chaos Sorcerer to his hand, but, he puts it back. Dueling Book does have its fair share of misclicks due to the not-so-great UI. I decided to side out a third spot. I don't know. There's some cards I want to decide in, I guess. So yeah, so here, you know, again, we're kind of in this situation where it's like, what do we attack with, right? The thing is, I feel like the set Speller Trap is something pretty good, because again, he could have discarded it to Tribe to kill our spies, but didn't. So I don't think this set Speller Trap is some sort of bluff, like a Nobleman of Crossout. That wouldn't make any sense. This set Speller Trap is probably a real card. Could very easily even be Mirror Force. So I don't know. I mean, it could be Mirror Force, it could be Saku. I'd probably just attack with 2 spies here. I definitely don't want to summon Dakochi. That's way too aggro. It's definitely overplaying our hands. So yeah, I figure basically we get to find out if this card's Mirror Force or not. If he does Mirror Force or 2 spies, we don't care. This is definitely a pretty good trade for us, though. You know, we do put our opponent at a pretty low life total. You know, we get rid of the back row, and obviously, you know, we can still set Dakochi. So yeah, there's just not a lot that our opponent can do at this point, because again, he has no lights, no darks in his grave. Thunder Dragon, of course, that is 1 light, but he would still need the dark. So yeah, so he did only banish 2 spies to our crossout. So, you know, okay, he could have a 3rd spy. I draw Cyberjar, which I do side in for the sort of the standard Thunder Dragon Chaos Mirror, which I can go into why that is. The main thing that I like about Cyberjar is that it kills Kaiku, and it's a good bait for mind control. So I think I sided out like the 3rd spy for Cyberjar. But yeah, we're just gonna go for game here. And he now does have the Mirror Force, so it's like, well, darn. You know, you got me. So yeah, so it's kind of interesting game state. Obviously, we're behind 2 cards, but our opponent being at 1800, I mean, this is very scary for him. He goes for the old summon Dakochi play again. He does attack into our Cyberjar. So we banish 5 here. It's, you know, it's kind of interesting. We get Pot and Sorcerer in our hand, and then we get to randomize Blade Knight, Deco, and Warrior Lady. And then our opponent gets a Deco, a BLS, Snatch, Saku, and Crossout. So yeah, we're just gonna randomize all of our dudes. You know, he gets to get rid of 2 of them with BLS and Crossout, because, you know, since the Dakochi attacked into the Cyberjar, you know, now he's got the dark that he needs. Yeah, first I put Blade Knight in attack mode, then I'm like, wait a sec, there's no reason to do that. It's our opponent's battle phase, not ours. So he does go cross out BLS. And yeah, I think all of our decos are gone. We only play 2. Get rid of his 3rd deco, I guess that is. Yeah, because he has 1 engrave, 1 set. And he plays BLS. And gets rid of our Warrior Lady. So, pretty good banishes for him. I mean, he got rid of the Warrior Lady, which was probably the best of the 3. But now it's like we really have a lot to think about. Here we're just gonna, you know, heavy. Obviously, Book is like the best card for him here, because now it means we can't kill the BLS of Sorcerer. So that makes life kind of hard. And now it's interesting because we draw Snatch. So it's like we have a lot of different plays here. We can go Blade Knight, attack the BLS, and then either banish it. We can go Blade Knight, attack BLS, play Sorcerer, banish it. What we can also do is we can go Blade Knight, attack BLS, main phase 2, snatch your BLS, banish the Dakochi. But you'll see that I decide not to do either of those plays. And again, part of what informs my decision making here is the relative life point counts. So I'm at 64, so I know that, like, I can't really, like, die that easily. So I'm just going to stop him from drawing a card, figuring that we've got plenty of answers to this BLS, and I'm going to set Knight Assailant, which definitely makes it, like, impossible for him to kill us. I mean, not impossible, but almost impossible. And it's interesting because, he might try to go for game, but Knight Assailant would stop him from going for game. So it's weird. He doesn't flip up his BLS. I guess he's, like, really scared of Chaos Sorcerer and Snatch, which, we have both. But obviously this play really doesn't work out for him because we have the Knight Assailant to just kill the BLS. And, yeah, and I believe I just decided to go for game here. Knowing that, well, all the spies are gone, so we don't have to worry about that. And then, since we're pretty sure that our opponent is on Chris's build, that list doesn't play Knight Assailant, so we don't really have to worry about Knight Assailant either. So, no banish the Sorcerer, we're just gonna Snatch and go for game, and our opponent concedes. So yeah, let me know what you think. Like I said, game 1 was kind of interesting because we had the turn 1 set breaker. Game 2 is kind of interesting, is very back and forth. And game 3 also very interesting due to how aggressively we played the hand, and how having fewer life points, being at 18 compared to 64. That's a very big difference in terms of the optimal, like, plays that both players are supposed to make. So yeah, see you guys next time.